Yeah, I get what you're saying, man, about trading out of the 1-1. This class seems like humans. It seems like a bunch of
Yeah.
humans. Whereas
Yeah.
we're used to like some fucking amazing superstars, you know?
Yeah.
I look in like 3 of the guys I'm going to talk about tonight all had 1,600 yards, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's a great production. Like, then you watch it and it's like, you know, like this guy's not a superstar.
Yeah. I'm right there kind of with you, which sucks.
But it's
I love
still
running
cool
backs.
because it's like,
Yeah.
the thing about this class is like, it's not, you know, it's like wide and shallow instead of being narrow and deep, you know?
Yeah.
Which is cool because there's a lot more names, there's a lot more darts, there's a lot more opportunity, and that means it's a lot more fun to dig into these guys and see, like, make your own opinions and
Yeah.
it's not as expensive to be wrong unless you have the 1-1 or something.
Yeah.
So I mean, fuck it, let's talk about them then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's dive into it. We're back at it again.
Rough draft research in the house,
In the
baby.
easy, the roof is on
Everything's
fire.
on fire, bro.
Bring your
All of
moose. Put out those flames.
I hope everyone had a good holiday, starting with President's Day,
Oh yeah.
and then of course Tuesday, or as we like to call it in the biz, Tutu Day.
Oh yeah.
Shout out Tutu Atwell. We reached out to him, but turns out he didn't have the reach to get back to us. So
Oh,
I guess.
ouch.
Oh, burn. That's
Ooh.
right. We're still talking trash on Tutu.
He'll get a hold of us when he needs
Yeah.
a light bulb changed.
How did that work out for your Rams? Did you get a Super Bowl or something?
Yeah. What a bunch of
You
fucking idiots.
Fucking idiots, dude.
We
So
didn't have enough people muffing punts and hurting themselves to win
Right.
the Super Bowl, apparently.
Well, let's just dive right into the content. I kind of liked that last week. Let's just move right along. Let's move into Christian, the RB types. Let's go.
Yeah. So, like Dan did last week, I kind of went back. Looking at the top 24, I've kind of tracked it over the last 5 years, and mainly to track to see if there's a size trend going on. And we'll get to that. But I did want to point out some like interesting, just kind of fun stats that I found while doing it. Over the past 5 seasons, the top 24, there's been a total of 60 different people. For your math wizards out there, 24 by 5 is 120. So that means 60 people have repeated on the top 24. So that's pretty cool. 3 guys have made it 5 straight seasons, which is pretty awesome. Ezekiel Elliott is one. He's technically at 6, but I didn't go back to 2016. But his rookie year, he still made top 24. Alvin Kamara and Melvin Gordon, actually, all 5 years in a row have been top 24. 3 guys have made it 4 years in a row. Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry, and Nick Chubb. Some pretty good company right there as well. But here's a really cool one, and I want to keep track of this. There's 11 guys that have been in the top 24 every year of their career so far.
Wow.
And I'm going to list those off. Obviously, these ones are easy, but Javonte Williams and Najee Harris. Rookie season, but, you know, it still counts. James Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, Antonio Gibson, 2 years in a row. Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery, sitting at 3 years in a row. Nick Chubb has made it every year of his career, as has Alvin Kamara and Ezekiel Elliott. So, I don't know. I just thought that was kind of fun to see, you know, like it's a little cool trend. And now we can see who makes it as many years in a row to start their career as possible. But if we want to get into the sizes, I kind of divided it up by weight classes, and I thought it would be fun if I related those weight classes to WWE wrestlers from the 90s and early 2000s. So we're going to do this. And so for our super heavyweight category, that's guys that are 240 pounds or more. Think your Andre the Giants, Big Shows, Kane, Undertaker, guys like that. But, you know, the thing about those guys, you can't have a ton of them because then you're just filled with giants and everyone's the same. And just like in the NFL, you can't have a ton of those guys either. So over the past 5 years, there have only been 3 guys that have been 240 pounds or more that have made the top 24, and they've made it a total of 8 appearances. And those guys are, and this is your beef boy territory, and you're gonna tell when I list the names. It's Leonard Fournette, Derrick Henry, and A.J. Dillon are the 4 guys.
Nice.
The interesting thing about this group, all 3 of those guys ran a 4.55 or lower.
Damn.
So it kind of, you know, if somebody comes into the draft over 240 pounds, but he runs a 4.5, might be somebody to keep an eye on because that trend is pretty steady because there's not anyone else that size making the top 24, at least not recently. So that would be the first group. Not a super viable group, as you can tell, only 3 guys. A little more viable, but still like not that many. You got the guys between 230 pounds and 239 pounds. This is your heavyweights, you know, Triple H, John Cena, New School Rock, people like that. These guys are great on the ground, but the ones who really, really thrive here are the ones who are threats in the passing game. These guys like Le'Veon Bell, Saquon Barkley, and then Najee Harris, the new addition to that type of group, can catch and run and has the size to make it consistently. Got to shout out James Conner. He falls in this group, and he's talked about enough on this podcast that it seems like we need to bring that up. But for that group, there's not that many of them either. There's 6 guys between that weight, and they've totaled 11 appearances over the last 5 years. So again, not a super, super viable group, but there are people that bust out, and it's those pass catching people that tend to make it consistently. So the third group, and this is the kind of the superstar group, if you will, is your light heavyweights. This is 90s rock and like Stone Cold Steve Austin, that type of guy. And ironically, it's not that surprising that this is where you get those 2 superstar names because this group has a ton of superstars in it. Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, Ezekiel Elliott, Todd Gurley, remember him? And then newly crowned king, Jonathan Taylor, also fits into this group. And then there's a few more guys that are not quite superstars, but Antonio Gibson, David Montgomery produce every year, and they're in this group. And so there's 12 of those guys. They weigh between 220 and 229, and they've totaled 30 appearances over the last 5 years. So that's where you really start to see, like, okay, between 220 pounds and 229, that's a pretty good ratio of the top 24. Not quite as good as this middleweight section, though. 210 to 219, and there are 21 guys that have made it over the last 5 years, totaling 42 appearances, which is by far the most out of any of the weight classes. And so it kind of makes sense again, too. So you got the middleweight class. These are your guys like Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, people like that. You know, the workhorse section to kind of fill your match card out or your pay-per-view card out and make it really pop. You get your superstars to have the main event, but you need great matches leading up to that. These are the guys that fill that out. And again, it makes sense with the workhorse section. This is the guys like Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Swift, Marshawn Lynch from back in the day, Melvin Gordon, Dalvin Cook, Adrian Peterson, Frank Gore, Mark Ingram, Kareem Hunt, and Javonte Williams falls into this group. It seems like this is really kind of the ideal NFL size, at least over the last 5 years. You're seeing a lot of names pop up consistently too. So this is really kind of the class that I think you really need to keep your eye on. If you're fighting between 2 running backs in the draft and one of them falls in this weight class, might be worth looking into. The last two here are still fun. This last one's fun. The other one I'm not so hyped about. But now we got our cruiserweights, and obviously you're gonna think Rey Mysterio for the cruiserweights.
619.
So there's 12 guys. These guys weigh between 200 and 209, and they've totaled 19 appearances. These guys are insanely fun to watch, but outside of a few like true superstars, they're a lot less consistent. You saw a lot of like 1 year guys popping up and then never coming back. But the superstars in this group are like Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, LaShawn McCoy. So you can get big boomer bust potential out of these guys, but it's just, it's a little bit more of a risk to fight in this section. And then we come to the featherweight division, and there aren't really wrestlers smaller than Rey Mysterio. So I didn't really know where to go with that one. It kind of breaks down after this. I could make a joke about like Hornswoggle, but I don't think anybody knows who that is outside of me. So,
Crickets.
Nope. All right. So,
I feel like Scotty Too Hotty's got to be in this.
you could throw him down there. They're about the same as Rey Mysterio, though,
That's true.
size-wise. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Hornswoggle was a little person that Vince McMahon always liked to use. He dressed up as a leprechaun and came out, and he tried to win the Royal Rumble and stuff. Really funny. He's cool. Anyway, there's 6 of these guys. They lay less than 200 pounds, and they've only totaled 8 appearances over the last 5 years. They're super heavily pass dependent. They're not consistently reliable, but they can save you on a random week. Guys like Nyheim Hines, Dion Lewis, Philip Lindsay, Tariq Cohen. Like you could throw them in, and they could help you out. All those guys obviously made the top 24, but you're not going to want to start them every week. They do have Austin Eckler, though, and he is the exception that kind of proves the rule because he's been a superstar at this size. So, yeah. So that's my wrap-up of their sizes anyway.
Hell yeah, dude.
Damn, man, you got us on the ropes. I got to say, it sounds like Ezekiel Elliott's probably one of your favorite players then, right? Just judging off
Game
of what I've
recognized
heard.
game.
There you
You have to
go.
like him.
Hell yeah.
Got an appreciation.
Nice. It's a lot of fun, man. Well, let's start. I mean, just roll right into the first guy. I don't know if we mentioned, we're talking 2022 rookies coming into this year. So a lot of hype behind this guy out of Florida. And we'll start with you, Christian. Dameon Pierce.
Yeah, Dameon Pierce, really good looking running back. I like him a lot. He fits into that light heavyweight division there in Stone Cold and those type of people. Biggest thing I noticed personally was vision. I think he finds the hole super quick, and he always seems to find a hole where he can at least gain a few yards. I love his burst. When he does find that hole, he explodes out of it on the other side. He popped out against Georgia in a hole, and he took it like 25 or 30 yards when they really needed to kind of like move up the field. Pretty impressive. He runs super physically, like he's trying to run through you. He's not scared of contact at all, which is nice. He's got quick cuts, and combined with the really fast acceleration, I think is a pretty deadly combo. And throwing it back to one of our older episodes when I talked about the yards after contact per attempt, he was actually at 3.7 yards after contact per attempt, which ranked him 34th in the nation. So if that stat does end up kind of being an indicator of talent, or at least of production, like I think it's going to, that's a good stat to have. I don't know, man. I just like him a lot. At 220 pounds is what he weighed in at the Senior Bowl. Unless I'm mistaken, I feel like weights and heights I can never get right. But I just like the guy a lot. He looks like a very natural, pure runner, and I like that. My issues with him, though, I don't know. He didn't get a ton of usage. Like his career high is 106 carries. He's had 19 catches. That was his career high. It just doesn't seem like a lot. And so you could take that and go one or two ways with it. You can say, man, he doesn't have a lot of wear on the tires. He's going to be able to play for a while. Or you can take it and think, why didn't the coaches want to use him more? Like, is there something that maybe we don't see on a consistent basis that the coach does and he doesn't want to play him, or is it just scheme? That's things you got to figure out. So that's a little worrying. He's not super fast. He's lacking that like big play speed. Not going to have a lot of super long touchdown runs. That same run I talked about against Georgia, I think if he was faster, that's a touchdown. By a lot of the running backs we're probably going to talk about today, that would have been a touchdown, but he got caught from behind. He gives you almost nothing in the receiving game. Not that he's bad. Like when they use him, he does pretty well, in my opinion. They just don't really use him. I mean, like I said, 19 catches is his career high, and he's only had one great year of production, and it wasn't even that crazy. 574 yards was his, the most yards. He just had a lot of touchdowns. So he's a guy I think you can get later in the draft that has a lot of potential, but he also has a lot of things that worry me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool, pretty fun to watch. He's definitely explosive and underutilized. I always think that Emory Jones, the quarterback there in Florida, had 143 rush attempts. So
yeah,
he's,
so that
he's
kinda...
a little bit of a carry thief there, but hell yeah, man! I was surprised that he was underutilized after looking at some of that film and seeing a lot of the things you brought up. Yeah, he looked good.
He looks really good, and then they just don't use him.
Got that tread though, ready to roll into the NFL, man.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of carries. That might be a positive in his
running back
corner.
longevity.
Yeah, and coming off the turnbuckle right into the NFL, if you know what I mean. He was a 4-star recruit out of Georgia, had 17 offers. He actually committed to Alabama. And after his 2,060-yard and 33-touchdown junior and high school year performance, his senior year he rushed for 2,100 yards on 227 carries, averaged 9.4 yards a carry, and 193 yards a game, while scoring 32 rushing touchdowns. And then he decommitted after a visit to Florida, ended up going to Florida. He actually, senior year, passed Herschel Walker on the Georgia high school football all-time rushing list and is number 10 overall in the state of Georgia over names like Nick Chubb as well. So,
my goodness.
Pretty good.
Yeah. I think he could help an NFL roster and a fantasy roster for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, I had to. Yeah, it's just one of those guys. Hopefully, I'm sure he can catch balls, right? Just maybe it wasn't asked to.
I mean, yeah, I didn't really see many drops in the tape, but I also didn't see that many targets, so it's hard to say. Yeah.
Time to watch the combine, boys.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
So let's go on to our next guy out of BYU, to my man D. Arthur.
Howdy ho. This is D. Arthur coming at you live. Tyler Allgeier out of BYU is a very interesting prospect, if you ask me. He's 5'11", 220, which I think makes him a superstar light heavyweight, a Triple H type.
Yeah, light heavyweight.
All right. 21.8 years old, and he was a lot of fun to watch. I got to tell you a little bit about him after having a kick-ass.
Heavyweight.
Oh, he's a heavyweight. He really is. He plays like a heavyweight. But after kicking ass his freshman year as a linebacker, racking up 19 solo tackles,
Yeah, boy.
he turned it up as an RB over the past 2 years. He put up 2,700 rushing yards on 426 carries. That's a 6.4 yard average over 2 years. And he put up 36 touchdowns over those 2 years. That's 8.4% TD rate. Pretty awesome. I don't know. I watched this guy and I was like, I don't get it. But then I kept watching and I was like, I think I get it. So a few things that stuck out as his profile to me was the receiving work was low. It was like a 10-to-1 carries to catch ratio over 2 years. So that's always something that you just have to think about when it translates into the NFL. But in 2021, he had 23 touchdowns, and 15 of those touchdowns were inside the 5-yard line. Ooh. So 65% of his touchdowns came within the 5, and actually 9 of them were 1 yard or shorter. Damn. So that's pretty impressive to have 9 1-yard touchdowns. It tells you that he is a goal line back and he is a physical guy. He had 4 touchdowns that were 20 yards or more, and 18% of his rushing yards were on scoring plays, which, whatever that means. I thought it was interesting to look at that number, but you can take it or leave it. But I don't really know what to say about this guy. He's got a weird play style that at first bothered me, but as I watched, the guy's growing on me. He basically stops and stands straight up at the line of scrimmage, and then he lowers his body and initiates what I'm calling the push. And if he successfully completes the push, then he gets up to full speed, and his full speed isn't that impressive, but it works because he initiates contact, and he's just a powerful guy. He's extremely physical. It's impressive. Like I said, basically half of his touchdowns were 1 yard. So what he's doing is he just pushes physically through the line of scrimmage, and then he gains speed. So instead of making like full speed cuts and using his agility or finding a hole, he really just grabs the line of scrimmage, forces his way through it, and then starts running. And it works. It really does work. It's not beautiful. Like I said, at first it was really off-putting, but he finds a way to make it work. This is the most interesting stat I found on all of the guys I looked up, and I look up random shit. But the BYU field goal kicker only had 1 attempt under 30 yards all year.
Oh, wow.
So that means that once this guy is in the red zone, he's in the end zone. Yeah.
Wow.
He's awesome. Just converting. It's pretty cool. He did okay in the passing game. He didn't get a lot of usage. He had 28 catches this past year. But Tyler Allgeier he's just a guy that looks like a linebacker that they started giving the ball to. And I liked it. He did have 4 fumbles in 2021. And like I mentioned, the stutter step behind the line of scrimmage is kind of detrimental. He doesn't carry that momentum of getting a start. He really does stop. I don't think he has a ton of speed. He can't really beat defenders to the edge. But once he gets through the line of scrimmage and starts moving, he does really just power through contact, and he makes it pretty difficult for anyone interested in trying to tackle him. And the best thing I think NFL teams are going to like about this guy is that he takes that physicality into his pass blocking. He really squares up with guys and just rocks them. You know, he's just a freaking hard-nosed dude, and he's not interested in being bossed around by anyone. So he's gonna take the pain to you, and I think that he's gonna have opportunity to serve as a goal line back and have opportunities increase from there. You know, 1,600 yards last year, pretty impressive. So yeah, I was kind of impressed. Was looking to be disappointed, but he changed my mind pretty quick. That Tyler Allgeier really, really found a place in my heart.
Sounds like big Mike Tolbert vibes.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Absolutely.
I like what you said as far as the film grows on you, because I will start the first time me and you that Friday. It's one of the Fridays we started watching Tyler Allgeier film, and I just instantly just hated it.
Yeah.
And then after revisiting it, pretty nice.
Well, that's why I looked up the way he stops at the line. I was like, man, he must leave his team stranded on the goal line all the time. But seriously, one kick attempt under 30 yards.
That's awesome.
And I was watching the tape for that game, and I was like, well, I bet there's a bunch of these field goals. No, I saw the only one. That's crazy.
Damn. So, yeah, he was a 2-star recruit, received 0 offers. He actually walked on to BYU. So that's pretty cool. He grew up in Fontana, California, same city as BYU all-time leading rusher Jamal Williams. Throwing that out there for you, Daniel. I know you're a big fan.
If you're listening, Jamal, stop calling me.
He was a two-way player in high school, which is why he probably played linebacker. Posted 126 tackles, 5 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 2 fumble recoveries on defense. Sophomore season, yeah, you already mentioned, played linebacker. So he also played 2 ways. He had 17 carries for 119 yards while playing linebacker. So with that said, let's move it right along to a very interesting prospect out of Texas A&M. Over to you, Christian.
Yeah. All right, so we got Isaiah Spiller, one of the bigger names coming out. One of the more thrown around names coming out anyway. Got production under his belt, 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons. That's always nice to see. He runs really strong. Seems like he's running downhill a lot of the time, but he also has pretty good movement to avoid tackles, which is, a great combination to have. He's got good hands, I thought. Not really used a lot in the receiving game, but I think he was effective when he was. I think he's a really solid blocker, which is going to lead him to playing a lot in the NFL because you can kind of, use him a lot, because you're not worried about him being a liability in the pass game. Even though they haven't used him a lot in the receiving game, he's efficient there. And he can pass block for you. So he fits a lot of modern NFL offenses. I think he's got really good balance. He's hard to take down. Bounces off weak tackle attempts really, really well. That being said, his yards after contact per attempt, I'm going to start calling it YACA as an abbreviation. So we're just going to go like that. His YACA's 3.6 yards, which put him 36th in the nation. So it's pretty good. I think he's patient. He does a little bit of bouncing around, but mostly he more waits for the hole to develop and then hits it most of the time, which is nice. However, that patience for Spiller does tend to backfire, though, and it kind of makes him look really indecisive. It's almost like sometimes he looks like this patient, almost Le'Veon Bell-like type, and then other times he looks like this sporadic guy that has no idea where he wants to go with the ball, and he keeps bouncing around until he gets stopped. And he kind of gets caught standing in the backfield, so even when people push through, he's like, crap, I got to get out now, and he has to restart going. And that's not going to fly in the NFL. You can get away with it in college. You can go break a couple tackles and have these crazy runs, but not really in the NFL when you got people like Aaron Donald coming at you on the defensive line. He just needs to pick a hole and go and let his natural running ability kind of just do the work for him. But it's almost like he overthinks, and it kind of leads him into some bad situations. He doesn't have a ton of wow factor to me. His speed kind of limits his big playability. He's quicker than he is fast. He's really good at cutting, but doesn't have that breakaway speed that I think a lot of people are looking for. And to be honest, I think he's a really interesting player, and I wouldn't mind having him on my roster depending on where he goes. But just seeing where he's going in these fantasy drafts, these rookie drafts, I don't think I want him where his ADP has him going. I think he's interesting, and I would like to see where he goes, but I'm not sold on him as a true bell cow yet.
Well, strong words, my friend. You really spillered the beans on that one.
I calls him like I sees him, dog. I'm sorry.
Yes, I watched a ton of him playing. Isaiah Spiller, man, I was there. I came for the Jalen Weidemer, and then I saw some Spiller action too. And I think, you got it pretty good. I don't have much to add. I should just defer to my friend AJ.
Hey, that's me. Isaiah Spiller. Yeah, man. 4-star recruit out of Spring, Texas. 21 offers, including Baylor, Arkansas, Alabama, and a former commit to Oklahoma. He was named the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tops and Texas First Team, the first team. That actually previews teams in Texas at all levels, from the Dallas Cowboys, Houston Texans, college football to roughly 1,400 high schools, public and private, in the state. So to get first team on that's pretty impressive. He was named to the SEC All-Freshman team and was the team's leading rusher as a freshman with 946 yards and 174 carries, 10 touchdowns. Not easy to do in the SEC, so quite impressive. Let's move it to the next guy. Very exciting.
Okay. I guess it's my turn again. Sincere McCormick out of the University of Texas, San Antonio. Oh, Sincere. He is 5'9", 200 pounds. He is 21.4 years old. And I thought it was pretty awesome. This is one of the guys that I've been excited about all year, kind of been tracking his year in the college world. And so I get to the film and I'm like, I'm ready to go. And it was kind of the opposite of my Tyler Allgeier experience, you know. And it's not like that. It's not like, oh, boo-hoo, but, you know, it's a little bit like that. But I do really like him. He's been the guy there at UTSA since he was a freshman, and I think it really shows in how he handles himself on the field. He's sporting an 11-to-1 carry-to-catch ratio over 3 years as a lead back. And this past year, he had 5 touchdowns inside the 5, 3 of 1 yard, and 3 touchdowns of 20 or more yards. And that was a 15-touchdown season. He rushed for 1,479 yards. You know, last year, 2020, he also had a 1,467-yard season, 11 touchdowns. So he has been a heavy contributor there, and I don't know. I really do like him. So 3 years as a lead back gives him the ability to develop himself. As a freshman, he contributed. And you can see, I watched games from all 3 years, and you can see him develop his game. And he plays now in 2021 with a lot of control. And that's what I really liked about him. He does a great job setting up his runs. He reads his blocks. As you were saying about Isaiah Spiller, McCormick allows a play to develop. He allows defenders to commit and then blockers to establish the hole and really let the play develop. And then he hits the hole with a great burst. And I think his best trait is his footwork. It's very deliberate. He gets up to speed quickly. He's efficient with his moves in space. And for Sincere McCormick, it seemed like his best plays were when he had quick cutbacks behind the line of scrimmage. And he really hits the hole strong. He looks strong as an inside runner. And he really knows how to follow a block, let a defender overcommit, and give himself some good wide open space. He does have the speed to get to the edge, which was pretty cool in the open field. He runs away easily. I'd love to see him run a 4.4 at the combine to give that edge of the speed, because he's smaller, you know, with that 200 pounds around there. You want to see him be really quick. But I think that either way, he has great contact balance. You know, he has an awesome, like, the thing I fell in love with Trey Sermon last year was how he could spin out of contact and get yards after contact. And McCormick has that too. It's not as like flashy or overdone. Like Trey Sermon's was really dramatic, whereas McCormick's is like a shifty, quick, like, oh, I ran into a wall, spin, keep moving. And he really extended plays pretty well doing that. But there's some things he didn't do well, right? Like pass blocking. Pretty much just was a roadblock. Like, don't run over me, run around me, please. Like he had some kind of a deal. Like, don't hit me, just I'll be here, you know where I'm at, run around me, no big deal. But as a receiver, He was pretty good. He had some routes that were decent. You know, it wasn't just in the flat. He did have some downfield routes. And he caught 66 of 76 passes thrown his way over his time at UTSA. So Sincere McCormick's rocking at 87% catch rate. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
So
that's really good.
you got to think about Conference USA, though. The competition might have lent itself to his success. You know, he's smaller than I want him to be. No offense. You know, you can't change the stars. You just got to do what you got to do. And like I said, besides the jump cuts and his timing, allowing plays to develop and the footwork, he doesn't have like a lot of crazy vision or elusiveness or I'm waiting on the speed. So he doesn't have that over the edge trait to make him like a crazy NFL prospect. But I really do think that he's like the master of his game, and it shows. And I think that he could have success, but gosh, he's just a little small, and so was the school he went to.
Yeah.
Small factor.
Yep.
A real hornswoggle, if you will, huh? Yeah. He was a 3-star recruit out of Converse, Texas. Received 11 offers, including Colorado, Memphis, Syracuse, and North Texas. He decided to stay close to home. Freshman All-American team. Named the Football Writers Association of America Sean Alexander Freshman All-American Team, which is composed of 1,200 professional sports writers from both print and internet media outlets. The Sean Alexander just indicates the running back. So pretty cool for a small town guy.
Yeah.
So we'll go on to the next guy, Christian.
Hey. Yeah, so we got Rachaad White out of Arizona State. Yeah, if you're wondering, he fits in that middle class, the Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero class. Interesting, man. I really like watching this guy play. He's got a very smooth but loose running style in almost every way. He sometimes just makes these really clean, like 1-2 cut, bang, and he's gone. His acceleration's really good. His cuts are super nice. He uses subtle, like small moves to pass by defenders instead of these like big, gaudy jukes like that. It's more like a little bit, at least in my opinion. And he bounces off people really well. And I think that lends kind of to his style. It's almost like similar to what makes Alvin Kamara so good is just his ability to like get knocked off of people and never lose balance and keep running. Not that good, obviously. Kamara's on another level, but like shades of that, I guess. And so I really that makes me really enjoy watching him. He's great in the receiving game. He's got good hands, and his like natural running style works really well for yards after the catch, I think. So he can definitely be an asset in the passing game to whatever team he goes to. I think he's really good in open space, really fun to watch, tries to juke a lot, moves a lot. I would not be surprised if he ends up returning punts in the NFL. At least maybe in his rookie year. I think they could really use him for that. That being said, he does kind of dance a lot looking for that home run because he can do it. And just like with Spiller, that shit's not going to work in the NFL. You're not that fast. You're not that talented anymore. You used to be able to rise up everybody in the Pac-Sun, or that's right? Pac-Sun Conference, whatever it is.
Pac-12.
Sun Belt. Pac-12, whatever. Wherever they are. I'm still terrible at the conferences in college. So that's one thing that I'm not super sold on. He's really good in the receiving game, but he's not a great pass blocker. It's not through lack of trying, though. Like, he gives it his all. He's just not that great at it, which kind of makes me feel better because at least, like, he's willing to try and maybe he can get coached up enough to be a good pass blocker. But if he never fixes that, a lot of, like, the dangerous time he would be on the field, he's not going to get that look because, like, 2-minute drill or you know, just trying to, like, use the running back in the receiving game a lot if they need to be able to block or they're not going to trust you. And so if he can't fix that, that's going to be a huge issue. And I really like his size as far as his weight. He fits into that middle class. That was the one that had 21 guys with all the appearances. So that's really cool. But he's almost too tall. He's listed at 6'2", and the only other running back in the top 24 that weighed the same amount as him, around the same amount as him, and was 6'2" over the last 5 years was Cordero Patterson.
Uh-oh.
And that was just this last year, and it was that crazy season.
It's a new era, baby.
And also, I need to get
Don't let
clarification
the
on his
Rams say
height.
that.
Also, because I looked on Player Profiler, they hit him at 6 foot. PFF has him at 6'2". If you Google it, he's at 6'1". So his measurements for the combine are going to be really important, just to see where he's at. Because everybody else around his size, like the guys that were 6'1", were 220 pounds or heavier. So I don't know that that's necessarily going to be a detriment. But if I'm looking at trends,
Senior Bowl?
it doesn't. Was he at the Senior Bowl? I thought I looked it up.
Yeah, he was right at 6 foot 210, which is
Okay.
a huge boost.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's way better. Okay. I thought I looked it up. I guess I didn't. Okay,
It's
well,
on
whatever.
the spreadsheet,
So then, yeah,
man.
I need to check that. I even intentionally looked this time because I've been off so bad on the weights and shit, but whatever. Guess I missed one. Anyway, well, fuck it. So take everything out I said about his height. Then his stock just goes a lot higher. I think he's like kind of a really good size, and he's a really smooth runner. He just has some areas in his game he needs to clean up.
Yeah. I think another detriment maybe be the age. He's a 3-star recruit from Kansas City, Missouri.
What?
Whoa.
Started as a redshirt freshman for Nebraska Kearney at JUCO, then transferred to Mount St. College. That's where he kind of got noticed.
Oh, he went to Kearney?
Yeah, and well, he went to Mount San College in Walnut, California, where he rushed for 1,200 yards. Then he started to get offers from Indiana, Hawaii, New Mexico, Tennessee, and a former UCLA commit before settling on Arizona State.
Whew.
But
Must
I
have
have
met
news.
Zach Charbonnet when he was at UCLA.
Probably, man. We have a special guest referee. Surprise guest. Christian has another running back he wants to talk
Oh,
about.
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So like we did last week, I'll take an extra guy here in the middle. We're looking at James Cook. And if that name sounds familiar, it's Dalvin Cook's little brother. He is a very strong weapon in the receiving game. Like gets lined up outside a lot, gets lined up in the slot a lot. He had a 90-yard touchdown reception or around 90 yards against Alabama, but he caught it at the 50. So it wasn't like some screenplay that he just took. He just lined up outside and burned somebody. Super impressive. His Yaka is 3.9. Makes him 21st in the national in nationally. So that's pretty impressive. He's bouncing off people a lot. You wouldn't think so. Cook's speed, acceleration, and quick moves is like that's all there. He's on another level with a lot of that stuff. Incredibly athletic, incredibly fast, and it's really fun to watch. His Cook's big play ability could bring juice to any offense in the NFL, in my opinion. He is an absolute mismatch against linebackers. He's just going to blow by them every single time. So you have to find a way to script for him if you're playing against him. The detractors, though, size is a huge issue. He's under 200 pounds. He'll need to bulk up if he wants to be anything more than just kind of a scat, change of pace, big play threat, which would be great for an NFL offense to have that as like a Swiss Army knife in your back pocket, but it's not going to be great for fantasy, not consistent enough to rely on him. And then, you know, when you put on weight, like if I say, man, this guy needs to put on weight, there's always that fear if they put on weight and they don't carry that speed with them, then what makes them special is gone. So that's another worry. He doesn't have like almost any power to his game. And it's weird to see his yards after contact be that high because like if he gets hit head on, it seems like it's a wrap most of the time. He can't stand up to like powerful pass rushers in the blocking game. And so with this guy, I think he's going to be really exciting and he's going to attract a lot of people in the draft. But I would be worried about his consistency as a viable fantasy option.
Yeah. With you there.
Yeah, that film was pretty good.
Yeah, it was
Watching
pretty
the
good.
highlights.
super
The
fun to
highlights.
watch.
Whew. Once again, if you're not watching, if you're just listening to this, we do play the highlights on YouTube. If you want to check it out, Rough Draft Research on YouTube. And if not, visit FF Astronauts or Player Profiler as well. Really good film there.
Oh,
But
yeah.
anyway, Daniel, you got anything on Mr. Cook?
No, I'm just concerned that it took so long for him to get an opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. You know, when you're in a big school like Georgia, it's not like, hey, freshman, it's your turn. You know, you got to earn your spot. 190, like that hurts. That hurts.
Yeah.
If he was 5'8" and doing all that, I could do it. But 5'11", 190 is just
Skin and bones, baby.
Yeah, you need to be a slot receiver.
I think he's really gonna. If somebody converts him, I'd be a lot more interested, to be honest.
For sure.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, when Googling James Cook, what comes up is a British explorer, navigator, cartographer, and captain of the British Royal Navy, famous for 3 voyages between 1768 and 1779 in the Pacific Ocean in Australia. In particular, there's a movie made about this guy named Viking Legacy, Dalvin Cook's brother.
Viking Legacy.
I'm just saying.
Captain Cook.
Just saying. All right. Jokes aside, 4-star recruit out of Miami. Rivals.com 5-star prospect and ranked number 22 overall. So depending on what site you go to. A Prep Star Magazine 5-star recruit. Number 28 nationally and a member of the top 150 Dream Team. Had 18 offers, including USC, Oregon, Miami, Michigan, Auburn, Ohio State, Alabama, and was a former Florida State commit, which his brother was a Florida State
Seminole.
alum. Number 3 all-purpose back, number 8 recruit in Florida, and he played at the Lunar Beast team, Nike's The Opening, 2017 finals.
The Lunar Beast, you know?
Yeah,
The Twilight Monster.
exactly.
How are you going to do that?
Classic James Cook. Should be interesting to see how that plays out. On to the next guy, to my man Daniel, Daniel.
Daniel here.
Fella out of Michigan State. You probably heard of him.
Michigan. This guy is the third of his name. Kenneth Walker. Ooh, 5'10", 206. Very specific weight for him. And he is 21.3 years old. You know, I talk about a lot of old people, and so I just want to tell you how old all these guys are. All but one of mine are early declares. Every one I've done so far has been an early declare, and that's pretty important when it comes to prospects. So, without any further ado, I'll give you the Doak Walker Award winner for 2021. And that's pretty prestigious, you know. We know a couple of Doak Walker Award winners. I think you brought up 2-time Doak Walker Award winner, Jonathan Taylor. Derrick Henry was a Doak Walker Award winner. It's the best running back in college football. And he earned that. I think it was pretty clear that he earned that. So he did 2 years at Wake Forest before going to the Big Ten, Michigan State. For his junior year, he had 264 rushing attempts for 1,646 yards. So 18 touchdowns, and that's a 6.2 yard per carry average. That is pretty impressive. I've been breaking it down for these guys. Let me tell you, when I say this guy is a pure runner, it is because his rush to catch ratio is 20-1. So that is not good as far as ball catching goes. He did have 9 touchdowns inside the 5-yard line, so half of his touchdowns were short yardage. 2 were from the 1, and then 5 of them were 20-plus yards. And his average, or 20% of his rushing yards came on scoring plays. This guy just, I'll get it. Yeah. Here goes. Man. Oh, my God. I don't know. I know it doesn't it's not going to work because of the pass catching. But after watching a couple of these games, especially the Michigan game, the Michigan State game, where he had 197 yards and 5 touchdowns, I felt like I was watching Saquon Barkley without the catches. It was pretty extreme. It was one of those like all the way to the house or nothing runner. And that's kind of what you get with Saquon. You get the gain of 2, the loss of 2, or the huge gain. And in that game, the 197 yards, 110 of those yards were on scoring plays. And the other 18 carries resulted in 87 yards. So, it's not like a horrible average, but it's not the same as having 197 yards just grinding 8-yard carries, right? It's a little bit different. So that's his story. That's his story all year. He's got a lot of outstanding traits, obviously. I mean, I don't know for sure, but he's probably right after Breece Hall as far as people clamoring for him. Obviously, Doak Walker Award means something. But I think the main trait that people are into is his speed. And the way he scores is by winning races to the edge and then just riding the sideline to its end. He's there he goes. He goes. He makes rapid cuts in the open field and extends plays. And then his second trait is power. He's got speed and power. What the hell? Obviously, he's going to be an amazing running back. He's hard to take down. He's unfazed by arm tackles. And he has this weird ability to run into a tackle and kind of like stand there for a minute and then break the tackle. But while he's doing that, all the defenders close in. And when he breaks the tackle, he has nothing but open field ahead of him. So if he doesn't go down, all the defenders have committed to his previous location. He skirts around and just takes off running down the sideline and scores a touchdown. It's very impressive. But he's a bouncy guy. I thought he's a little too bouncy sometimes. I personally have concerns about his vision. I don't know if that's a popular opinion or not, but he runs into the back of his O-line a lot. A lot of times he'll run straight into the arms of a tackler. It's just kind of weird. And I think it comes down to his decision making. He really does rely on his speed and the ability to cut the edge. But he has the moves, but I think his decision making or his vision is holding him back because he'll just run into tacklers like he doesn't see them, or he's like not thinking about the next move. Something. It's kind of weird. I did think he's a little small to translate what he did this last year into the NFL. 5'10", under 210. It's going to have a kind of a tough time being a bell cow.
Yeah.
And that's what he kind of profiles as. He was really a poor inside the tackles runner. Really wanted to push it out to the edge. Even those goal line touchdowns that I was mentioning earlier, a lot of those were bounce out plays. They weren't up the middle. So I do worry about that a little bit, but it doesn't matter what I think because this guy has got a ton of steam as far as good press and hype. He's the man. So yeah, I mean, I'm probably medium wrong, but I can see why people are very excited about him. I like my guys to be able to run up the middle a little better.
Yeah, that's fair.
Personally.
Yeah, man. 3-star recruit out of Arlington, Texas, Kenneth Walker III. Dad's name, Kenneth Walker Jr.
No way. Huh. I heard his grandpa was his great grandfather was Doak Walker.
Yeah.
Oh damn.
Oh damn. He did receive 9 offers out of high school for Eastern Kentucky, Arkansas State, and a former Kentucky State commit until settling at Wake Forest, and yes, then did transfer. 2021 Walter Camp National Player of the Year, 2021 Doak Walker Award Winner of the Year, 2021 Consensus All-American as unanimous first-team selection, and co-Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year with C.J. Stroud.
Wow.
So
That's what you get for getting a Heisman snub. Got
yeah,
it.
yeah, that's what it is. So going into the next guy, I'm going to kick it over to Christian for the Notre Dame running back.
Yeah, Kyren Williams. He's in that featherweight class there with James Cook. But I think we can give him a featherweight pass. Because he's listed at 199. Hopefully he can get a little more size going into the combine. Kind of boost that number up. And B, his play style is that of a bigger guy. He plays hard all the time. In pass blocking, he smashes into would-be pass rushers. I think that he's really consistent in the pass blocking game. Williams is not scared of contact at all. His Yaka was 3.7, 28th in the nation. Dude, his Purdue game, just go watch his Purdue game. It was nuts. He had 2 long touchdowns, one through the air, one through the ground. And it shows you just his versatility. He's a great runner. He's got great hands. He's a consistent catcher of the ball. And he can run routes in the slot and on the outside. I feel like he lined up more in the slot than he did the outside. I haven't seen those numbers, but just from watching tape, I would think
he just lined up in the slot on this tape as you spoke.
Your ability to synchronize a film that you can't see is amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a skill you don't even know you have. He's got a really nice stiff arm, too. He used it to escape tackles a lot, and it works really well, especially for a smaller guy. I think Williams is like just all around good in almost every area that you need him to be a good, productive running back in the NFL. Unfortunately, he's almost like a jack of all trades and a master of none, though. It can be super useful, but it could lead to less like impactful fantasy production. Because almost I could see him falling into a similar role, and this is kind of a spoiler for how I feel about a guy specifically, like Aaron Jones. I think his fantasy production is about to start going down because he's going to be splitting time with A.J. Dillon more. But that doesn't mean he's not useful for an NFL offense because his talent is crazy. He was one of PFF's highest graded running backs this year, and he didn't even play as much as he used to, and that's Aaron Jones. And I could see Kyren Williams slipping into a very similar type role where he's not the bell cow, he's not the number one guy in an offense, but he's a very important and productive player of an offense, but that doesn't always lead to fantasy success. So that scares me a little bit. His size, I mean, like I said, hopefully he can put on a little more. But even if he does put on a little more, he's still going to be on the smaller side for running backs. Not that it is going to hinder him necessarily, but he'd be around the same size as Aaron Jones, Christian McCaffrey, a little bit bigger than Austin Eckler. And all those guys managed to do it. So they're not saying that Kyren won't. He isn't going to win any strength battles. I think if he gets hit at the line, he's pretty much going down. Not all the time, obviously. You're going to have some outliers, but I feel like a lot of the time, if he got stopped at the line, that's where the play was going to be stopped. And he just comes with one of the biggest reasons I don't like smaller running backs and these sub 200 guys I tend to stay away from is all these smaller backs. Offensive line ends up being so much more important because they can't do it on their own. They don't have the size to shrug guys off in the backfield consistently like a Derrick Henry or a Nick Chubb or somebody of that stature. So if he goes somewhere with a bad line, or even worse, he goes somewhere with a good line, starts producing for you, you start relying on him, kind of start to build your roster around a guy, and then his line decreases. Because I can see a similar decrease in production from Kyren Williams if his line goes down. So those are the things that scare me, but I think he's going to have a good, solid NFL career, and I really like him as a player and would love to have him on my fantasy roster just to see what happens.
Like that.
Yeah, as far as what you're saying, I mean, the versatility and just the abilities are kind of endless. I did watch that Purdue game.
Yeah.
Just, I was watching David Bell, but, I saw a lot of Kyren Williams. And I've said it a few times. I know it doesn't really matter, but I got a chance to watch a lot of Pac-12 and that was a lot of the Notre Dame stuff. I watched a USC game, and he was that whole offense, man. It was incredible. Yeah, I really, really, really like him, and I thought he did a great job. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Love it, man. Kyren Williams, 4-star recruit out of St. Louis, Missouri. Recruited by Ohio State, not an offer. Received 19 offers, including Iowa, Missouri, Iowa State, Wisconsin, Purdue, North Carolina, Michigan, K-State, until he saw Deuce Vaughn on the roster. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Responsible for 350 total yards, including a state championship game, 289 yards rushing in his senior year in the state final victory. 2018 Football Coaches Association Class 5 Missouri State Player of the Year. And the number 22nd ranked high school running back. Number 6 overall in the state of Missouri. Number 1 was Jamison Williams. Just thought that was interesting because we're not far from St. Louis, so we might have to go start watching some high school games over there, man.
I guess so. Get some emos.
Yeah.
Have a good time.
Hell yeah. So that's Kyren Williams, and we'll move along to the next guy. And this guy, Daniel's no stranger to a Missouri running back, so let's get into it.
That's right. This guy, Tyler Badie. If we're going to St. Louis to watch some high school football, we might as well stop in Columbia to watch some Mizzou football. Rock Chalk Jayhawk, don't get it twisted. But I'm falling for some of these Missouri Tigers. I got to say, Tyler Badie's a little on the small side. He's 5'8", 199. He is 23 years old. He is my only senior. But he did learn from the best, and that is Larry Roundtree, straight up. If anyone's a long-time listener, they know that I really enjoyed Larry Roundtree's power and his bursts last year, and the Chargers didn't enjoy it as much as I did, but he's still playing football in the NFL occasionally. So look out for that. But it just sucks that Tyler Badie was stuck behind a guy like him because he really kind of turned it up. This was his 1 year to be an alpha, and he spent that year putting up 1,942 combined rushing and receiving yards, 54 catches, and a combined 18 touchdowns. So he had a respectable 6-yard average on the ground, and I thought it was awesome. I know he's small, and I know he's a pass catcher, so when I watched his rushing game, I was actually very impressed. Let me go through my things. It was a 4-to-1 rush to catch ratio. That's awesome.
Yeah.
4-to-1. You know, we talk about these guys that are doing well for you fantasy-wise. In the NFL, you talk about like Eckler and Najee, Zeke and Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, Antonio Gibson. These guys are catching a lot of balls. So I'm not saying he's those type of running backs, but I'm saying he comes with the skills to pay the bills. So he had 14 touchdowns on the ground. 3 of those were inside the 5-yard line, so that's around 20% of them. 1 was from the 1-yard line, and 3 were 20 plus. So he had more like red zone touchdowns that weren't short yardage, like the 15-yard line type.
Okay.
So he really liked the open space. Let's see what he's doing here. I'm watching the film now. I'm out.
Subscribe on YouTube.
That's right.
Click that bell.
See what I'm seeing. So it's clear that the size is not outstanding. But Tyler Badie has been involved as a pass catcher throughout his entire 4 years with Mizzou. He has 126 catches, and it makes me feel like he can have a role at the next level. But then the production on the ground this year makes me think that he could be more than just a pass-catching back. He had 1,600 yards on 268 carries on the ground. That's pretty damn good. It was top 5 in all of college football. So maybe he could be more than just that pass catcher. But let's see. The efficiency of his receiving ability did go down when he started to run the ball. The past couple of years, he was rocking some pretty good averages, 11 and 12 yards per catch. And then when he started to rush and receive, it dropped to 6 yards per catch. So I don't know if that's, he wasn't fresh or whatever. But it definitely is something to kind of consider if you're looking at the total picture of what he's able to do. But he still had a catch rate of 71%, even with the lower efficiency. He had 76 targets, which was the third most in all of college football for running backs. So he's got the ball skills, 17% of his team's targets. It just kind of paints that pass-catching running back, but he also had 1,600 yards on the ground. So the way he did that was just having great bursts through the hole. He really had good technique. He kept his shoulder pads parallel. He kept his body low. He did a great job of following his blocks. He was patient behind the line. He didn't really rely on cutbacks or jump steps. More, he just kind of like pressed the play and kept moving forward. And he sticked with the play that was called and let it develop. He didn't panic. He was a very patient runner, and I'd say he was a disciplined runner. But Tyler Badie, just, I don't know. He was awesome. I expected him to work towards the edge because he's a smaller pass catching guy, but he was really better up the middle in the 3 and the 4 hole. He let the tackles create the space and did a good job between the tackles. I thought it was pretty cool. In space, he utilized that good vision, same kind of stuff he did on catches. Tyler Badie routinely makes guys miss, and he chooses his path downfield pretty well. It's just he's elusive, but in a quiet way, not like a jerky way. It's kind of like sneaky elusive. Just really gave him the space he needed to cut wide open. I think he's pretty quick. We'll find out at the combine how fast he really is. And I thought he was a powerful runner, even though he's small. But I don't think that he is powerful or strong enough or big enough to really be that guy in the NFL. But he is a guy that I've been following for 1 year of deep love. So I'm excited. He's definitely going to end up on my team if he doesn't get blown up in the NFL draft or whatever.
If they watch this, he might.
I don't know. Yeah, good luck. You take my advice. From a winner to a winner, it's a good source of advice.
Send him to L.A., Could be the next Austin Eckler. Him and Roundtree. 1-2 punch, maybe?
Yeah, buddy.
Come on. So, Badie, 3-star recruit out of Memphis, Tennessee, was recruited by Ole Miss and Notre Dame, and then ended up receiving 11 offers, including Army, Air Force, Eastern Kentucky, and was a former Memphis commit. Played in the AutoZone High School All-Star Game, was named the SEC All-Freshman Team by league coaches, led Missouri with 928 all-purpose yards as a sophomore, averaging team best 77.3, so that's coming down to what you were saying. He was the receiving work as well as groundwork. His 32 catches were the most by Missouri running back in the last decade, and he was the first Missouri running back to lead the team in receptions during a season since Brock, it doesn't matter, from 1995. 2019 and 20 SEC Academic Honor Roll.
Nice.
As well as 2020 and 21 COSIDA Academic All-District. I guess this recognizes the nation's top student athletes for their combined performance in athletic competition and in the classroom. So pretty sharp guy.
Smart.
So that rounds out Tyler Badie.
Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah, man.
Sincerely.
Time here. Well, I might try to squeeze this guy in. I got a little guy I wanted to talk about, and he goes by the name Kennedy Brooks out of Oklahoma. 5'11", 215. It's interesting because if we were talking about this guy last year, I feel like he would have been more relevant than he is, because he's getting a lot of not necessarily hate, just not a lot of attention, which I like. So I dove into the film. I wrote down here, he's the great surveyor. He's a well-coached. He's kind of like a pass block pro. He has really good vision with the pass blocking. I saw some of it where he would kind of start on the left side, and he'd survey. He'd work his way all the way across the field to catch a block on the edge, which I thought you don't see a lot of guys doing that or willing to do that. Great on the goal line, is very determined, I guess. When he gets there, he gives that a lot of extra effort when it comes down to that. And it's even when he's lead blocking. Spencer Radler a few times running on the goal line. He had no problem playing full back role, which you like to see that as well. I think he has a really good first step and really good decision making, more like just really quick decision making. He's really good at almost disguising himself in the rushing scheme, where he kind of ducks behind his offensive line, finds his hole, and just bursts through it. So I like that. I call him the chunk gobbler. He likes to just gobble up chunks. He doesn't really have a breakaway speed necessarily. But like I said, when he hits the hole, he commits and he hits it with like strong determination. Let's not worry about that fumble that we just saw. But a lot of it, like, go watch that Texas play and you'll kind of get an idea what I'm talking about. I don't know if any watched the Texas game last year. This play right here to win the game with 10 seconds left. He just kind of disguises himself behind the line of scrimmage, bursts through the hole, then next thing you know, like, linebackers don't even see him coming. So he's very crafty in kind of space, one-on-one scenarios. Sheds a lot of arm blocks. 778 of his 1,260 yards came after contact. He did only have 29 catches in his whole careers, but the hands seemed all right, but there wasn't a lot of data to kind of back that up. So I think I'll be looking for that.
A lot of those guys this year.
But the reason for that is, he started in Oklahoma in 2018. He ran for over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. Other people present there were Trey Sermon, who had 164 attempts and 947 yards. Kyler Murray, 140 attempts, rushing for over 1,000 yards, as well as Kyler Murray threw for over 4,000 yards with Hollywood Brown and CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
And then you go into the 2019, he ran for over 1,000 yards. Other people present there were Trey Sermon, whose attempts were less or cut down by over 100. And then Ramondre Stevenson, who we've talked about last year, who seems to have maybe not the best career, but pretty impressive for what we saw. And he also had Jalen Hurts there, who ran for 1,200 yards as well. So in order putting up those numbers with those kind of players on the field, that's, to me, is impressive. He did opt out of his 2020 season, so maybe that's where a lot of this is coming from. Maybe the hype was dampened. But with that comes the negatives. And I know I said he looked like a pro-looking pass blocker, which he really does, man. But the problem is he kind of lacks the engagement. And it's kind of similar to Sincere McCormick, as you said, maybe more of a roadblock. It's like he knows where to go, and he makes that first initial hit, and then it's like, but I did my job. Now, just go for the quarterback. Now it's kind of like you gotta engage that. You kind of gotta throw your body in front of that. So I'm hoping it's not an effort thing. So maybe going into the pros that changes. Like I said, I think he has a nice cut. He runs inside a lot, runs really well. But the other thing is he tries to burst outside and he gets chased down a lot. And I worry about that at the next level because you have a lot faster guys on the edge as well as in the linebacker position. So don't like that.
Yeah.
He also just kind of a one-speed guy. He has burst, and then he's at top speed, and it's not that fast, and that's kind of where it's at. So you're not going to get the home run hitting touchdowns. That's kind of why I called him the chunk gobbler, because he's going to get that like 12 yards, 14 yards, 15 yards, and he's going to go down. Honestly, dude, this guy reminds me a lot of Ramondre Stevenson as just like a pro-ready, dependable back, possibly three-down back capabilities. We'll have to see how the hands are. I think it's a landing spot dependent. But maybe with an opportunity, he could be something. But I don't know necessarily if that'll happen. So I'm excited about him, but we'll see.
It kind of sums up a lot of this class, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if they go to a place, it could be really sick. And if they go to a different place, it could be nothing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I'm
Yep.
with you. I need to check him out more for sure.
He's fun, man. 1,000 yards all 3 years.
That's impressive. That's
So-
some sincere McCormick noise right there.
Hell yeah. So I guess I'll round it out. 4-star recruit out of Mansfield, Texas. 13 offers, including Baylor, KU, Arkansas, Michigan, Tennessee, Wisconsin. Fort Worth Star Telegram 2016 Super Team Offensive Player of the Year after rushing for 2,800 yards and 40 touchdowns in 11 games as a senior. He ran for 3,522 yards in a season, which is the 8th most in Texas history. So, or Texas at all time. So, that rounds up Kennedy Brooks. That wraps up the 9 running backs. Was it 9? 10? 10 running backs we talked about?
That was 10, yeah.
Yeah, 10.
So,
yeah.
fun stuff.
Let's go.
Let's go. Rookie season, baby. I think next week we might do a little pre-combine mock draft.
Ooh,
Fucking pack a lunch, man.
Pack a lunch.
fancy,
will be here.
fancy.
So,
Christian, have you watched any of that Tyler Allgeier stuff?
No, I haven't. I
Dude,
need
you
to get
gotta-
into that.
You got to check out in the Boise State game, his quarterback throws a pick, and he like runs the guy down and punches the ball out. He like becomes the linebacker for half the play and like
That's
punches the
awesome.
ball out and recovers the fumble. It's really cool. You got to check it
Hell
out.
yeah.
I'll send you the video of just that. It's
I remember
amazing.
when you sent it to me, and I read what you wrote underneath, and it's just like DK Metcalf ? And I was like, wait, what is this in a comparison to?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
the video's titled that. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's right. That's
I was
right.
like, yeah, it's next level, man. Fuck yeah. I love
That's
it.
it.
I love it, man. Can't
Like-
wait for the combine next week.
Yeah, man. Woo! Like, subscribe, comment, text us if you know us. We're here. We're here. We're ready to talk some football, baby. I think we're going to get a Discord started soon, too, so we can all be in that chat and we can talk to y'all folks.
Well, that would be fun. I don't hear from you guys on the text message as much as I'd like, so I'm always up. Always got the phone on me, so get at me. Until then, sleep tight. RDR out.